What's up, everybody? Long time no see. Today, in our review, we will have a game called Thaumaturge. The word thaumaturge stems from the Greek word thaumaturgist, roughly meaning a power of wonders. Oh boy. Does the thaumaturge live up to that moniker with the custom-made essay? Despite having no idea what's a title mean, at least I was drawn in hook, line, and sinker. Line, an entity attaching itself to a poor, helpless soul. I was connected. In the broadest form, the Thaumaturge is isometric story-heavy RPG mixed with an investigation mechanics, decision-making, and a host of characters to unravel it. In its core, though, what makes the Thaumaturge so compelling isn't individual system, but rather the world upon which it's built. To say it's easy to be absorbed into a universe of real creatures that lack unto human being flaws would be a massive understatement. So, what it is makes the Thaumaturge so transfixing? It's not just the works of wonders nor the manipulation of the human psyche, surprisingly. Time to dust off the old grimoire and dig out your Sherlock Holmes cosplay attire when our investigation to be conducted. The Thaumaturge takes place in Warsaw, Poland in the year 1905, still under the iron fist of Russia at the time. This is a city on the edge. Diverse group of the people are loggerheads despite the rampant of the authorities and either corrupt or violent and ineffective. Returning to its melting plots of the homeland, the Victor Suzuki both of protagonist and the title Thaumaturge. There are two stories developed whose theory fixate on within the game. The first story is the story of Warsaw itself, the resistance towards Russian occupation, and disregarding impact of the high society and the uprising in the progressive movements towards a more prosperous fate. In this, I found so many enthralling stories and variation threads of revelating social commentaries. For the most part, it is achieved throughout an abundance of the invectable objects in the environment. Newspapers that reflect on events of the time, collectible sketches highlighting architecture, notes that reveal the intricacies of Polish, Russian, or Jewish life during the period. Warsaw is a character unto itself, and the Thaumaturge is a superb and highlighting in the word and standout in its own right. More than However, it's how the development have used the Warsaw to draw focus into the second narrative, the people. Victor is returning to this hotbed of metropolis with the ability to see into its underbelly. As a thaumaturge, he can sense emotion on the objects, feeling the throw to the others. Oxymoronically, not only in the Warsaw is sign delight, it's a hive of scum and the villainy most easily would relate. Victor's return to Poland is superb by the other that of his father, from whom he holds like a love. However, the story quickly ramps in the pace. Before long, you mixing with some prominent figures and the groups throughout the city, namely Rasputin, the Russian Secret Service, Polish loyalists, Jewish businessmen, and the other thaumaturges. Throughout the city lurks saluters, sentiment entirely unseen by the majority of the population. Throughout unseen does not mean feel unaffected. Saluters latch onto the emotional flaws of humans, for example ambition, pride, or manipulation, changing the behavior of their subject, usually for the worse. Victor has an uncanny ability to not only see saluters but to interact with the ultimately controlling them, which is where Thaumaturge really hosts into second theme of the human weakness. Saluters' accurate flaws already inherit within the person and seek out the people with the strongest version of the flaw. You are making a number of decisions that thaumaturge, like who you align yourself with. Additionally, when presented with the chance, you'll need to decide whenever removing a flaw from the song is right the price. They may be freed or burdened, but what did they lose in the process? The decision-making of the game is what truly grabbed me. Wrangling over whatever I could trust as a childhood friend, the cult-like miracles working Rasputin on even Victor's own sister is so engaging. While the choices you make aren't as comprehensive as, say, a Baldur's Gate game, they shape you, Victor, in very different ways. So some threads aren't as fleshed out as others, but overall, the Thaumaturge is a brilliant exploration into human nature with a fascinating seed to boot. While Warsaw clock full of interesting discoveries and stories to unfurl, you need to navigate throughout in districts to find investigators. The city is divided into half a dozen so districts, effectively small hub maps. They are teeming with life, with the main quest, side quests, and odd jobs activated throughout stumbling on relevant items. A lot of time the Thaumaturge is spent wandering from place to place, Thanks to the victor ties to the entire realm, and a handy flow of red energy will guide you through the objectives. Snapping your fingers, reveals context-sensitive objects which, when interacted with, tell you more about the item itself and the feelings attached to it. For main and side quests, the act of dissolving items regarding their descriptions and piecing together the story behind them is great. Being throughout will reward you with the new dialogue tree options, and they used to tie the collectibles into the game in meaningful fashion. In a lot of cases, there are less deductive reasons. There was simple walking to various points and clicking a button. Consequently, your enjoyment will stand how willing to immerse yourself in the details you are. In my 25-hour playthrough, I acquired 90% of collectibles and complete every quest available, which I was always engaged with the mission-specific investigation and items. I did tire on odd-job rewarded ones. Collecting the 55 sketches in particular does err on the side of tedium, especially when you already spent 15-20 hours traversing the same small locations. While not bad, there may be a touch too many of them. Despite all the lengthward and running around, the Thaumaturge succeed. So many games disappoint where it comes to side quests. They're generally meaning and impactful. Sure, you can safely skip them and blitz throughout the story unbited, but you'll be doing yourself a disservice. The developers have used the side missions and opportunity to explore more around Warsaw and the stories of the people within to great effect. More than that, they are multi-layered and offer both gameplay and decision-making adventure. More than one potential saluter, for instance, are required throughout the deep narrative trends. Depending on the outcome of the quest, you may know even end up with the saluter. This makes doing side missions a consummate plate, as opposed to a boring time-wasting chore. So, main quests follow in a similar vein throughout. What may start you as an initial inquiry can very rapidly spiral into the brawls, misdirections, and broken allegiances. The Thaumaturge excels with its quest design and the interwoven stories, which kept me thrilled to keep processing no matter where I was overall the story. During the investigation escapades, you'll find often yourself the wrong side of, well, basically everyone. Police, gangs, thugs, and even charlatan street peddlers. Almost everyone is more than happy to dish out some knuckle sandwiches. Victor comes prepared, sporting both its own punching acumen and the powers of saluters and being out to call. Combat is turn-based, where the various moves can be taken 1 to 3 rounds to trigger. You can view your opponent's light-up moves, allowing you to strategize. It may sound simple, but even selecting whatever victor or saluter moves first can be essential. You taught the basic via tutorial, but the mastery will come from experimentation and learning from the errors. Each saluter has its own set of moves, providing a wealth of combat options to mess around with. Enemies have both traditional health and the focus meter. For some, you can brute force throughout with regular attacks. For others, you need to break their focus, open them up to powerful abilities. Opponents have their traits which make them immune to status effectively or may negate 80% of damage, for example. All of the culminates in an effective combat system that is interesting and challenging in equal measure. I found most of the box standard fights to be breeze, but boss battles and story encounters will properly challenge your strategies. The fact that it's easier or harder depending on style or equations depends on the decision-making structure of the story too. Towards the back of the game, I did find myself being less engaged. Regulars won't any traffic by that point, making them begrudging time killers. Thankfully, random encounters are avoidable. The combat system itself works brilliantly, but it doesn't quite have the legs to sustain every optional fight you can come across. Well, the Thaumaturge is a deep, complex, and expert-crafted RPG game, ripe with engaging, layered stories, and eternal discussed in the equal measure. This tactical Warsaw around with the flaws of human nature is supremely compelling. It might be slightly too long, and has the odd technical flaw, but it is a world devolving into a character study of the human condition, brimming with the argue. An excellent video game that may surprise some of the potential game of the year contender. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and peace!